Where we are, or where am I? This is a sort of companion piece to my third State of the Nest address I shared back in November, on the anniversary of sharing a regular letter via Substack for 6 years. In that piece, I discussed the growth, or otherwise, of my letter. I don't like the phrase "I have a newsletter," and I dislike the phrase "I have a Substack" even more. To my mind, I have a letter which comes from me to you, that's it. Like in the olden times, when we would actually touch paper and move a pen across its blank face, lick an envelope, likewise a stamp, then walk to the postbox, feel air on our faces. One of the possible reasons I believe my letter has not grown recently is simply because I have not been sending it with the regularity I did in 2024 or in 2023, or for that matter at any point since 2019. I've been sharing a letter for a long time now, 6+ years, and writing on the internet for a lot longer. My first steps on the World Wide Web were actually pre-WWW at school back in the early 1990s. And 2025 was the quietest I have been online since those days, especially if we include email or messages. The why behind this is what this piece is all about. Why go quiet? In short, there are two principal reasons I have not been sharing online as much as I did previously. The first is one of personal development of a sort. I have taken the time to examine my wiring beneath the board, to look at why I am as I am, to work out the details, and to try and see a way forward which will not replicate the boom-bust depression burnout cycle I have followed in the past. I will continue to share things about this process, which is, of course, of curse, as I just mistyped, also works admirably well, ongoing. All self-development should be. We should all keep asking questions and all keep listening to the answers, even or especially when they make us feel uncomfortable. The second reason is, well, all of this. The author waves around generally at the world. We are living in dark, dangerous times, that is a simple fact. And the dark and the dangerous seeps into everything we are, whether we intend it to or not. Imagine a blind man who happens to also be deaf, walking slowly in a straight line. He doesn't know he is walking to a crumbling cliff edge. Now imagine a blind man who is no longer deaf, and although he can hear the sound of approaching waves crashing ahead, keeps on walking. Now the man is also no longer blind, a miracle, science. And he can hear the waves and see the cliff edge ahead, feel that spray on his face, and yet he keeps walking. Others, wise people, normal people, your neighbors, friends and family, are all nearby shouting at him to stop walking, but yes, he keeps walking. The walk feels familiar, each step like the last, right up until the ground gives way beneath his feet and he falls, faster, gathering pace to smash upon the rocks below. That man is, rather obviously in this ridiculous extended metaphor, humanity at this point in time, today. We are no longer blind and deaf. We have all those voices telling us what is happening to the only home our species has ever had, and at this rate may well ever have, and yet we keep not only walking, but pick up the pace a little. I'm sure if you've ever read any post on Substack or elsewhere from one of the various scientists or climatologists or even someone normal saying, guys, maybe we should rein this in a little, you'll have also picked up on some of the frankly ridiculous comments these posts receive. Some are horrible, vile, cruel, others just plain laughable. Still others try very hard to manipulate the figures to show something they do not show. Irrevocable proof that climate collapse is just a gold-plated hoax. Some of those voices, the naysayers, are probably not even human. Russia has been quietly waging a war against the world over the last decade or more, a war fought through fingertips. Fair play to them, they saw the future and they knew the power of words in that future. Trust the Russians to understand how words and stories are truly powerful after all. Their literature was perhaps a warning, a hint of the troll factories and deliberate misinformation to come. In the first worldwide story war, Russia has certainly won. Many nations are only just waking up to the fact they've lost control of their own messaging. And it doesn't matter what they say, the damage is already done. Trust is gone. Belief has evaporated, and hope is somewhere down the back of a sofa, picking up dust and fluff, perhaps adhering to a sticky, lost delicacy, slowly returning to a sugary base. Only there are those who keep going, who seek to redress the balance in the ways they know how. Some share their practical tips for preparing for disaster, whether on a local, regional or national or even global level. Others talk about the data, what it demonstrates, what it might mean to us all, and how it ties in with yet more data. Still others share what is precious and beautiful, what is real, what triggers emotions and reminds us we are human, the good parts of being human. All of these are valid. All are crucial. I never understand those who criticize others for sharing beauty and wonder when times are dark. This is precisely when such things are most important. And maybe it's my British upbringing, but see also humour. What is essential is that we all work out our own path forward. We all look at where we are, then seriously consider the road ahead and how best to navigate it. Sudden twists, washouts, failing bridges, cracking surface, ice, rain, storm, deep snow, and all. What is my path? For a long time, I've tried very hard to keep sharing a positive message, to share with you the beauty, majesty, and wonder of nature, or how we can perhaps reclaim our place as a part of it. Over the last couple of years, that belief, that urge to keep fighting a good fight has increasingly wavered. I had to pick my battles. Note, I really dislike military violent metaphors, but horrifically, there is now no denying or getting away from the fact we are actually in the fight for the very lives of our species. And the battles I chose were for my own mind, my own way forward, mentally, emotionally, physically. After all, if I am not whole and strong, then it becomes harder to help others. Not impossible, but harder. As we are told, always put on your own oxygen mask first. Now, after an extended break of a sort, from talking about things here, certainly, I feel I am capable of returning. Slowly, at least, but I'm not quite there yet. How I continue to fight, however, is still something I'm considering. I think I have a few options which I shall discuss below. The options. The problem, as I see it, as with many of the world's issues, stems to money. I simply cannot afford the time to write essay after essay for free or next to no financial recompense. It isn't viable. I do not have the time to do so, sadly. Yet the idea of increasingly paywalling work leaves me cold. I thought I was being clever with how I paywall things. Take my fiction, for example, where I share story after story, novel after novel for free, only paywalling after the whole is shared, and, in the case of some of those stories, no paywall at all. Much of my oldest work here is paywall, true, but in reality there are very, very few people who ever go back through an archive with a fine-tooth comb. No one really has the time. Thanks, capitalism. So, going forward, what should I do? There are several options I can see. Maintain the current system, only paywalling certain things after a time, with occasional paid subscriber-only posts, including links to my Ko-fi account, which has proved more useful than paid subscriptions over the last year, in each post. Remove the paywall completely, which will also mean removing all my fiction, as I shall be selling that in book form very soon and never paywalling a thing again. Keep the fiction paywalled, perhaps with bonus material if people pay for a subscription to read it, and make everything else free from here on in, with the option to subscribe simply to support my work. This is, of course, not a simple thing at all, but one for which I am already exceptionally grateful, especially in the times we find ourselves inhabiting. As I am soon releasing some of my fiction in book format, as mentioned here, my current thinking is to go with the third option. There is another reason for this, one which is mildly irritating, and I feel a bit annoyed to have to share. Substack itself, the platform which shares its letter and notes, their Twitter-esque feed, no longer drives discovery as it once undoubtedly did. I'm not saying this simply based on my own experience, again, see the third state of the nest I shared back in November 2025, but also what others are reporting. I'm not sure who now profits from either notes, recommendations, or any other methods Substack used to use, but it doesn't seem to be me or almost anyone else I talk to. This happens. Platforms deteriorate over time. I'm used to that. Not that it makes it any easier, of course. At present, I shall keep using Substack, but I shall also be adding another method of sharing my words, that of a good old-fashioned website. I shall launch this soon to go hand in hand with the launch of my fiction books, and, going forward, each letter will be copied there too, with some older work also uploaded and shared there. As I work on that site, I shall also be updating the pages and tabs of my Substack home too. The Start Here page, for example, is now out of date. I'd like to have all this done in the next few weeks if I can squeeze out the time for it. I think doing so will help lay a solid foundation for the other work to come. These things are me. As much as a part of me is irritated at the increasing lack of discoverability on Substack, I do want to keep continuing to share words with you about the subjects I love or find interesting. That is the bedrock of this space and will also underpin the work on my website. Nature, ancestral skills, fiction, reading, writing, neurodivergence, these things are me. They are the blocks from which I am carved and, I think, the things you want to read. One thing which will always help immensely is if you, the reader, take the time to share my work. I am so very touched when you do so. Thank you. Our world is experiencing change on a scale never before seen. That point bears repeating. This change is conceivably across every facet of our and the planet's very existence. In September last year, I shared an essay called The Balance of Hope, but I only shared it on my Substack homepage, pinning it there and never sending it as a letter. I wanted to see if that was a useful way to share my work. At the time I said this. This post is something of an experiment. By not sending it out to my subscriber list, I suspect not many people will read, comment upon, or share it. However, I am more than willing to be proven wrong. I actually did have some great comments on this piece, and it was shared a little, but it was only read 148 times, which is not great when I have 2,285 subscribers and 5,215 followers on Notes. For reference, I sent this piece, Build the Wall, the day after, and whilst it only had a 29% open rate, it was viewed 1,060 times, 10 times the other. As such, after I send this letter, the one you are reading now, I am also going to share that unsent essay too. It goes into much greater detail about the issues I discuss above, with talk of hope, of direction, and reference to the work and words of Ursula K. Le Guin. It is a longer read, but, I think, one which contains words which might help if you are also finding our times difficult. Difficult here is probably an understatement. One other thing the Balance of Hope shows is how I have not moved forward in my own work here as I had hoped at the time, not outwardly at least. 5 months later, I am sending similar words to you now, after all. One reason for this is probably due to my day-by-day sharing of A Fall in Time, and all the work that entailed, even if it was mostly simply copying and pasting. In 2024, A Fall in Time likely increased my readership by 40%, perhaps more. In 2025, I actually lost 50 people from a balance of subscribers in the same time frame. That was a little demoralizing. However, I have made substantial progress on offline projects, those which will only be readable once they are published in a more traditional manner. Traditional here being both self-published and, with luck and a lot of work, traditionally published. I have also made substantial progress on me, and that is not to be underestimated in this dark and dangerous time. My emotional, mental, and physical health is better now than at any point in perhaps 4 years. I have an essay I am working on discussing the plants which I feel have given me substantial aid in this process of healing. Often, I find there are powerful answers in nature, if only we investigate properly. I can safely say I've now firmly attached my own oxygen mask, which leaves me with 3 hands, able to help others once more. This process of focusing on learning how to move forward as myself has also meant I can actually focus better on what needs to be done, something I have struggled with in recent years, whether self-work, paid work, or work which will pay in some shape or form in the long term. And all of this feels hopeful. It feels like spring whispering in the forest. Finally, as I have mentioned recently in my series of weekly letters sharing snippets from the past, witness notes, my word for this year is communication. Last year it was compassion, which worked very well indeed. As such, I am trying to reply to your comments faster, although this is still a work in progress. I'm also working back through the comments you've left on my pieces last year, which I still have yet to reply to, and I am also beginning to read your own work more too, engaging here and there. I have a whole year to get to the point I'd like to be, where I can reply quickly, where I can send out emails, messages, and letters, even look at other ways to communicate. Does anyone use Substack Live? How did it go for you? What about the chat function? I love and appreciate every comment you take the time to share. In our attention-based economy, the simple fact you do comment is a wonder. Thank you. Have you also been struggling to see a path ahead in these dark times? Are you deliberately seeking out signs from nature for connection and grounding? I have noted down the date for the first snowdrop, first purple archangel, first drumming woodpecker, first morning and evening chorus, and first probably rather cold honeybee. Have you strengthened yourself for what comes next? If you have enjoyed reading my words, I offer 2 current direct ways to support my work here. The first is to take out a paid subscription. As I say above, this is a super way to support my work. Just subscribing, even if it is as a free subscriber, is also a wonderful thing. Thank you. The second way to support me here is to use my Ko-fi button link to send a tip of any amount. I think this is easier for many people in these tough times, as it doesn't feel the same as a monthly or annual subscription. Leaving a comment, sharing my words, subscribing, these are things I do not take for granted. I appreciate that you can do these things too, that the technology makes it easier for you to do so, and if I do move my letter somewhere one day, it will have to be somewhere which still allows this with ease. Thanks for listening.